Welcome back to the Leading the Pack podcast. This is episode 17, I think. We're on the Wendell Clark episode, the Devontae Adams episode, I guess you can say. So this week, it's draft week. And I'm going to try and basically focus on the draft this week. But there's other things that have happened. And so let's get this right out of the way first before I get into talking about the draft and explaining to you what I'm going to be doing with this draft episode. Let's talk about the European Super League. Now, I don't really talk about soccer all that much. You know what, actually? I'll save this for a separate thing. I'll do something else. Explaining the European Super League. But basically, it's disbanded. It's probably not going to happen now, but that's about it. That's done with. Or not that it's done with. I'm not going to talk about it this episode. So, as much as I really want to talk about it, which isn't all that much because I don't really talk about soccer on here a lot, but I will say I had something recorded yesterday that was supposed to go up on Instagram, on Monday, because I'm recording this on Tuesday as usual. I had something recorded to go up on Monday. That didn't happen because of the news that came out today. I'll redo it another day. Basically just talking about why it doesn't work for soccer and why it goes against what the original creators of soccer and what all these clubs are really meant for. But that's for another time. Another thing I was going to discuss in that video was the Jake Paul fight, and because that video is going to be coming out now, I'll talk about it real quick. That was a waste of money if you bought it. I'm sorry if you spent money on that fight. That was a joke. Oh boy. That was a joke to the sport of boxing. And that's about all I want to talk about because I don't really want to give Jake Paul that attention. Anyways, we got the NFL draft coming up this week. And, It's an interesting draft. Got a lot of QB talent this year. There's some really great talent coming up this year. One of the rookies I'm excited to watch next year is Kyle Pitts. Now, instead of doing a mock draft, I don't really like doing mock drafts, to be honest with you. The reason for that, a lot of the times when you do a mock draft, the draft is basically a dartboard. You're throwing a dart, hoping to God it sticks, okay? Not every prospect that gets drafted in the first round is going to be a star. Not every prospect that gets drafted in the later rounds is going to be a bust. You're basically drafting somebody in hopes that they become the player that you expect them to be or better. Nobody expected Devontae Adams, who was, I think, a 4th-round pick, to be the number 1 receiver in the league right now. Aaron Rodgers, he was supposed to go number 1 overall, fell to number 24. Nobody expected Ryan Leaf, who was drafted 2nd overall after Peyton Manning, to be a bust. Every QB that is drafted by the Browns, except for Baker Mayfield, in the first round has been a bust. How many players can you name off the top of your head, first-round talents, that went nowhere? Laquan Treadwell. You had, who's the Titans lineman that was just traded? I can't remember his name. Wilson, I think it was. I think it was Isaiah Wilson. How many times have you seen players drafted in the first round? In any sport, it's not just about football. Any sport, the draft is a crapshoot. It doesn't matter if it's the NHL, it doesn't matter if the NFL, NBA, MLB. Anytime there's a draft, you're basically hoping that player becomes who they are more. That's why I don't really like doing mock drafts. That's why I don't really care to do a mock draft, because as much as I can say, oh, the 49ers, they can really use a QB. Zach Wilson's the guy. You don't know if that's how it's going to be. You don't know if it sticks. You don't know if that team trades a player or not. As much as it's fun, it's not something I really like to do because I find it's a waste of time. But instead of, going through all that stuff, I basically have the draft list right here. So the picks, all the picks that are here in order. So instead of doing it by team, I'm doing it by first round picks. So it's sort of like a mock draft, but at the same time, it's not really. I'm basically just going through team needs. That's about it. Can't even tell you if there's actually teams that are missing in here or not. The Rams are missing in here. I know that. I just had it opened up. But at the end of the day, they're, mock drafts, I don't really find them that fun to do. But so instead of doing that, I'm just going to talk about, team needs and all that. So first off, we have, we'll just jump right into it instead of dragging this on because this might go on for a while. Now, the first team that we have is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we know who they're taking number 1 overall. So instead of just saying Trevor Lawrence, let me explain this. So this is team needs going into the 2021 NFL draft. So this is team needs after, what the team needs after free agency. So the Jags, we all know who they're taking first overall. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. So instead of just saying Trevor Lawrence, it's basically not to turn Trevor Lawrence into Blake Bortles. If they can do that, that'd be fantastic because that is one of the best QB talents, one of the best QB prospects, to be coming into the league, I think for the first time in who knows how long. We haven't seen anybody of this, this stature, and who was the last one? I think the last QB to have, this kind of stature around them has to be Aaron Rodgers or Alex Smith. This is a pretty big. This is one of the biggest QB prospects, I think, of recent memory. I can't really think of anybody else. Jared Goff, maybe. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff, hindsight 2020, not so much. But at the time, it could have been Jared. You can't compare it sort of to Jared Goff. So basically, if you're the Jags, you're trying your hardest not to have Trevor Lawrence be a bust. You want Trevor Lawrence to be Trevor Lawrence. Oh boy, stop shaking because then I'm going to have to hear other stuff in. Why is this thing shaking? Okay, stay. Why are you shaking? I really hope this doesn't come up in the video. In the final edit. Great. So, now I got distracted. The next up, the New York Jets. Basically, because we know that they're going to be taking a QB, trading Sam Darnold to the Panthers. It's what they need going into this 2021 draft. Patience with young QBs. I think they gave up on Sam Darnold way too quick. That's somebody that, could have been a great QB on this team, but, they didn't build a team around him. He had a garbage coach for his entirety of the Jets, his tenure with the Jets. Going into this draft, have patience with your young QB. Doesn't matter who you draft. I don't care if it's Justin Fields, if it's Zach Wilson. These are highly touted QB prospects. Same way as it was, 2018? When he was drafted, Sam Darnold. These are highly touted QB prospects. Have patience with them. They're going to have to grow. You don't supply them with the players to play a proper O-line or whatever, or a good coach. They're not going to, they're not going to be who you expected them to be. Meanwhile, if I was the Jets, I feel like I gave up too quick on Sam Darnold, but you have the second overall pick. At the same time, I think you take advantage of that. So them trading him away, anything I think anyone would have done. If you have the chance to draft either Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, it doesn't matter which one. Now, the 49ers pick, stop moving. The 49ers pick, I kind of felt like it's going to be Zach Wilson. I feel like the Jets are going to go with Justin Fields. So for the 49ers pick, I said a QB with looks like Jimmy G, but with a better arm. So that is basically Zach Wilson. He's got that, I don't know, he's just a good-looking kid, that guy. So, that's all I hear about my mom saying. Jimmy G is how good looking he is. Then you have Zach Wilson, who's younger too, and has a better arm. 49ers want to use a QB like that. If 49ers want a QB like that, I say go for a QB like that. That's basically how it's going to go. And then you got, who else? Then up next is the Falcons. The Falcons over here, I feel like they're going with Kyle Pitts. But I said O-line, DB, linebacker, someone that knows the Heimlich because of how much they choke. I didn't necessarily put Kyle Pitts on here because they have... what's his name again? I can't remember his name. Not Jalen Hurts. Why can't... Oh my gosh, Hurd. Can't remember his name. They already have a tight end who is actually pretty good. Now, Kyle Pitts is better than him. He's the best prospect, I think, in this draft. And a lot of people think in this going into this draft. That's why I feel like it's going to be Kyle Pitts. But I do feel like they need O-line, a good DB, good linebackers they can really use. But somebody like that you can get in the second round. That's not necessarily what you need. I think if you're the Falcons, I think you can draft Penei Sewell here. But I'm going to save that prospect for pick right after. I think they might go up with Kyle Pitts just because he is the best prospect in this draft. Not saying that he should be the best player necessarily, but the best prospect. The best and most raw prospect. Like if you've watched the Gators games that he's played in, he's got to be one of the most talented players on this team. And the reason for that is look at Kyle Trask play and the throws that he's making to him. A lot of people say Kyle Trask could be a first-round talent, but if you look at the throws that he's making, I don't really think so. And if to see Kyle Pitts catching those throws, that's what makes him, one of the best prospects right now in going into this draft. So I feel like the Falcons are going to draft him. I also not too sure. I feel like it's going to happen because of how big of a prospect he is. But I also still think that they really need O-line. Like especially, Alex Mack just walked. I feel like they can use an O-lineman here. But I also think another team is going to try and pick him. I think it's going to go Kyle Pitts because of the Falcons. And if he's available, they're going to... Any team that has a chance to pick Kyle Pitts, other than the Jags, Jets, and 49ers at 1, 2, and 3, I think they're going to take him. Now I got the Bengals up next with the 5th overall pick. And this is the only team that I legit put a name for and not a position. Like, other than the Jags, Trevor Lawrence not turning him into Blake Bortles, that's the only one that a name is there instead of a position. Because we know Trevor Lawrence is going to go for first overall. But the Bengals, we know that there's only one player that they really need if he's available at this spot and the Falcons don't take him and take Kyle Pitts. And that player is Penei Sewell. And that's the only option. That's the only option if you're the Bengals. Because if you, he would look great, for one, in the new Bengals jerseys. I think he'd look fantastic. You know what else would look fantastic in the Bengals jersey playing all 17 games next year? Joe Burrow with a fully healthy ACL. And if you have Penei Sewell blocking his blind side, yeah, you might have Joe Burrow the full season next year. Joe Burrow is running for his life behind that O-line. And if they can draft Penei Sewell, I think they're going to be good. Not that they're going to be good next year. I think he's going to be fine next year. I think he's going to be able to actually play. So that's the only player I think the Bengals should draft at all. Out of everybody, that's the only one that they draft. There's literally no one that you should draft. If you have to trade down to pick Penei Sewell, pick him. I do not care. Pick him. There's literally no one else that you need. I don't care if he wants to. What's the word that I'm looking for? If he wants to be playing with Jamar Chase again. I don't care if he wants that reunion. If I'm the Bengals, you want Joe Burrow fully healthy being able to throw to the good receivers that they already have as is. They don't need Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins. You got Tyler Boyd. And you have Joe Mixon in the backfield. You don't need you don't need Jamar Chase. You need Penei Sewell so that Joe Mixon can get the runs, so that Joe Burrow can have pass protection. There's literally no one else that they need at all. That's all I'm saying. The next up, we have the Dolphins. I just put the best available player that's not a QB. There's no one really that they need. Sorry. Well, it's not that there's no one that they need. They have some pretty good. They have a pretty good running back. I think. What's his name? I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a good QB in the future. I think people are doubting him already, which is too fast for a young QB. This was his rookie season. They got Devontae Parker, and now they just signed Will Fuller, and so they have them at wide receiver. Maybe you draft Jamar Chase here to be that second, to be the number one receiver in the future. It could happen. There's also you can also draft Devontae Parker here. If Kyle Pitts is available, you could pair him up with Mike Gesicki. There's a lot that you can do here. Whoever it's at this point, the best available player that's available, that's not a QB. And it's got to be the best available player that they see is the best available player, not that we say is the best available player. Because remember, people like us, we don't work in the NFL for a reason. They're working there for a reason. So that's just how it is. It's the best player that they find available. Next up is Detroit, and I literally just put anyone competent. And in brackets to put that's not a tight end, because I think that the only competent player that they have, other than Jared Goff right now, is I guess Jared Goff. He's a competent QB, but he's not what Matthew Stafford was. But the only competent player that they have right now, I think, is T.J. Hawkinson. Kenny Golladay signed with the Giants. I think it was. Yeah, Golladay signed with the Giants, and I think they still got Marvin Jones, or I think he left them. I think he left too. I can't remember, to be honest with you. It's the Lions. This is a rivals Packer that I literally do not give a crap about. I don't give a shit about them in the sense that they bore me. Packers Lions games, yeah, the Lions give the Packers a beating, or not a beating, but a hard time. But it's boring compared to the other games. I'd much rather watch anybody else play. Detroit has to be one of the most irrelevant teams right now. I'm sorry to all the Detroit fans, because I know that there's a lot of Detroit. I'm not that sorry to a lot of Detroit fans. But I know that there's a lot of Detroit fans out there. I'm not sorry to what I just said. They aren't that relevant. They're not on the relevancy of the Jags or whatever, but they're not that relevant. Actually, the Jags right now are a little more relevant because they have the first overall pick. The Lions, they bore me. But literally anyone that's competent, I don't care if it's Jamar Chase, if it's Devontae Parker. I don't care if it's somehow Penei Sewell at number 7 if the Bengals don't take him. I don't care who it is, if it's a defensive end, if it's a cornerback. Anybody that is competent, can play on your team, draft them. Just draft them. Make the Packers rivals. Oh my God, English is hard. Make the Packers-Lions rivalry great again. Good for once. Next is the Panthers. I put DB, I guess. I can't really say what they really need. I would say, usually, a lot of the time with the drafts, I say draft a lineman because that is the most important position. And if there's a good lineman available, you take him. Like an offensive lineman. But other than that, their linebackers are pretty good. They have some pretty good defensive ends. They just got Sam Darnold at QB. Their wide receivers are DJ Moore, I think it is. I literally can't remember his name. I get the Curtis Samuel signed with the Jets, I think it was. So it's DJ Moore that I'm thinking of. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. And then they still got Christian McCaffrey, who's a wide receiver option at running back. Tight end is somebody I think that they can use over here. If somehow Kyle Pitts is at number 8, which I doubt is going to happen, because like I said, I think the Bengals would take him. Or not the Bengals. I think the Dolphins would take him if they have the chance. but I still think he's going to go to the Falcons. If that's the case where Kyle Pitts is available, yeah, you take him. Of course you take him. But I don't really think a lot of these teams necessarily need like a running back. Like running backs you can draft in the later rounds. I wouldn't like, unless he is a top tier running back talent, then I don't really see them taking one. They don't need a running back for sure. They don't really need a receiver unless you want that third receiver or like a receiver for the future where you could put him at 1, 2, or 3. Excuse me. So I think that you put DB. They got Jeremy Chin, who I think is going to have a breakout season this year. Other than that, there aren't really too many guys, but the Panthers, I think, have a pretty good team where they have competent players like around the team. At this point, it's whatever the best option is. Like I said, DB, I guess, but really I think it's the best option that's there. The best option that is available for the Panthers, take them to basically have an upgrade for that position. Not that they're going to be in that position right away, where say you draft like a Jamar Chase or Devontae Parker. You're not going to put him as the wide receiver 1 right away. You're going to let him develop, put him at 3 or 2. That's what I think the Panthers are going to do. I think they're in a good position. You literally draft anybody with the 8th pick, and it's going to be upgrade. It's going to be an upgrade, but I think you have him. You can not have to play him like as a starter every game so that he could develop a little bit more. Then you got Denver. I literally said a QB that's not Drew Lock. I don't think Denver. I don't think Drew Lock is that good of a pick, and that's about it. Like Drew Lock kind of stinks. I'm not trying to give up. I'm not that kind of guy that likes to give up on people right away, but he isn't that good. He's not that good. I feel like if they have a chance to draft a QB at this spot, I also am not John Elway, so I know that just because a QB is 6'5" white, and 6'5" and white doesn't mean that he's gonna be good. I'd go with anybody at QB over here that's available. I don't think it's gonna be Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. I think it's gonna be Trey Lance that you can draft over here. But it's John Elway, so I'm a little too optimistic about them drafting Trey Lance here. Next up, we have the Cowgirls. The Cowboys. I think the things that they need the most is a new GM, a new head coach. But drafting an O-lineman isn't that bad because their O-line kind of sucked this year. And then where are they? O-lineman or anybody on defense. I feel like you can anybody like the best available defenseman, the best available player on defense here, I think could be a good pick. I don't care if it's a safety, if it's a defensive end, if it's a linebacker, if it's a cornerback, if it's a nose tackle, defensive tackle. I don't care who it is. Anybody that's the best available player on defense here, or O-line, you take them if you're the Cowboys. Their O-line stunk this year, so Ezekiel Elliott had a shit season. Their defense did not look that good this year. Trevor Lawrence. Oh, no, what's his name? Lawrence, the defensive end. He's a little too overrated in my opinion. If you're the Cowgirls, that was actually a joke. That was actually not meant. I did not mean to say that this time. If you're the Cowboys, you take the best available defender. I'm talking like it's hockey. You take the best available player on defense or the best available offensive lineman. That's it. Where are we now? We are on the Giants. How much time have we been talking about this for? 24 minutes. 24 minutes. That's great. I'm just still on pick 11. So the Giants here, basically what I said too is the best available, what I tried saying is the best available player on offense. Maybe not a running back because you have Saquon Barkley and you have the backup running back. I can't remember his name now. If it's a QB, I don't think they're going to take him. I think they're going to stick with Daniel Jones. I would take him or take a QB here, but they just drafted Jones a couple years ago. I don't think they're ready to give up on him. I don't care if you go with Devontae Parker or Jamar Chase. Somehow Kyle Pitts is available, I would so take him because Evan Ingram is not that good of a tight end. I don't know how he made the Pro Bowl last year. He led the league, I think, in drops for tight ends. He isn't that good. So if you can draft the tight end here, if you can draft anybody on the offensive side here, I think you do, because their defense is looking pretty darn good. Next up, we got the Eagles at the 12th overall pick. I literally said wide receiver, and don't make it an out of the box wide receiver. If Devontae Parker or Jamar Chase are here, or any other good receiver here, you take them. You take them. Give Jalen Hurts weapons. Give Jalen Hurts weapons. You don't need a running back. You don't. Give Jalen Hurts weapons. The Chargers, I said O-line or tight end. They lost Hunter Henry in free agency this year. He went to the Patriots. O-line is not always a bad pick, a bad choice to go with for the draft. Tight end they can use. They have wide receivers. They have a running back. They have a QB. Maybe you go with somebody on defense to get a DB or a linebacker. It doesn't matter. I think that you can go with the tight end because you did lose Hunter Henry this year. That's the Chargers. And the 14th overall pick, Vikings, I said O-line. If you watch the Viking games this year, you can tell that they can use an O-lineman. Maybe you go with the QB here to develop under what's his name, Kirk Cousins. But I think you go with the O-line because if you saw their O-line this year, it was pretty abysmal. Next up, we got the Pats. They made a lot of moves in free agency, so I'm not too sure where you would go if you're the Pats. They can still use, I think it's a safety on the defensive side. I also put O-line because, as usual, it's not a bad pick to go with an O-lineman, even if you got to, have them develop. I also don't think they're going to be able to play right away on the O-line, on the Patriots O-line. Maybe if it's a guard, I think, because I know they got Isaiah Wynn. They lost Joel Tooney, so they can use a guard there. They re-signed David Andrews. Maybe you go with the guard there. You put somebody, you draft somebody that you can develop. I also said wide receiver. I don't think the receivers that they drafted this year are good enough. Who did they draft again this year? It was, oh boy, who was it they drafted this year? I know, or not signed. They signed Nelson Aguilar, and there was one more. Oh, Kendrick Bourne. That's who it was. They signed Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar to a deal. I don't think those are true number one receivers. Those are number two or number 2 and 3 receivers. Maybe you find N'Keal Harry has maybe N'Keal Harry has a breakout season, or somebody else on the team has a breakout season and becomes a number one receiver. I don't know if that's going to be the case. You can take a receiver at that spot. You can go with an O-lineman or DB, like I said. It was safety, I think, that they need. That's the Pats. Number 16, you got the Cards. Cornerback or tight end. They have a great safety in Budda Baker. I think they can use a cornerback after Patrick Peterson left. Tight end to give Kyler Murray some more weapons. They're great. They're good on receiver. They just signed James Conner for the backfield. I think you can draft somebody at tackle or at the O-line. Doesn't matter there. It's again for them. For the Cards. I think it's the best player that's the best available player. Vegas, I said O-line. They traded away Trent Brown. They can use a tackle. They also traded away Hudson. So they're missing their center. They're missing their tackle. Drafted. That's basically what they need is a tackle or an O-lineman. The Dolphins up next at 18. I said refer to pick 6 or trade pick for a player here. So basically the best available player that's not a QB. Or if you want, you can use that pick to trade it for somebody else. If you have to use the 6th overall pick, because we're seeing things with Deshaun Watson going to Miami in exchange for Tagovailoa and first round picks. If you have to do that, you can do that. I still think don't give up on Tagovailoa yet. I think he's going to be a good QB in the future. I think that, like I said, refer to pick 6. So the best available player at that position. Where are we right now? We are at the Washington no names now. So now that we got the non-playoff teams out of the way, now we're on to the actual playoff teams. So these are the wild card teams. The Washington no names. I said a QB, even though they drafted two legends, they signed two legends. You should draft a QB that can play and learn behind Fitz, and then next year can play behind Heineke if anything, or is ready to come in next year. Heineke, I don't think is going to play this year, or is going to be the starter this year. So it's going to be a battle between Heineke and Fitz. I think if you have a QB, like a rookie QB in there to learn from them, that'd be a good way for them to learn. Fitz really helped Tunga Vailoa to learn how to be a QB in this league. He's gonna teach. He's one of the best teachers there is. He's a great player, or not a great player. He's a great guy to learn behind. I don't really see them going with the wide receiver or anybody else. Maybe they go with if there is a wide receiver at that spot, you take them. You know, if you want to go for a QB in the later rounds, you can. You go for anybody like tight end, receiver, anybody on the offense. Really, you can use, because their defense is good. It's just that their offense can use a little bit more help. I still think that they should go with the QB here. If not, drop the QB in the second round. Make a move for, I don't know, for a wide receiver or somebody here. But at the same time, you can, do the reverse. Pick a QB in the first round, receiver, tight end, whatever in the later rounds. Next, we got the Bears. The Bears. I don't know how they pronounce it in Chicago. The Chicago Bears. What I put here, I think, was a great thing. A literal QB that can be a QB, not Mitch Trubisky that is a QB that can, be a Packers defender. You want a QB that is actually. I think if I don't think Trey Lance is going to be at this spot, but with how I went off with how I think it's going to go, I think Trey Lance can end up here, depending on teams' needs. If you have a QB at that spot, like a good QB at that spot, not like a Kyle Trask, but if you have a good QB in that spot, you take him, develop under Andy Dalton. Next year, after Dalton's contract is up, or you just cut Dalton, goodbye. You use that QB. Indy, I said the best available player. Indy's got a very complete team. They have a QB under with Carson Wentz. Excuse me. They have wide receivers. They have three good running backs. Excuse me. They have a fantastic O-line. They have a really good defense. They have an all-pro player in defensive tackle in DeForest Buckner. They did lose Justin Houston, so maybe use somebody at defensive end. Maybe you go with the best available player there. If it's defensive end, they have some good cornerbacks. Maybe you go with the cornerback or a safety there to bolster it up. Whatever the best available player is there for Indy, and going into the later picks in the first round, a lot of these guys is the best available pick. You use that. You pick them. Next up, the Titans. I said anyone on the best available defensive player available. Anyone on defense they can really use. They lost David Clowney, who only had 0 sacks last year. Yeah, anybody that's available on defense for the Bengals, I think not the Bengals. Anybody available on defense for the Titans is a very good and safe choice for them. They have some good offensive players. You have Ryan Tannehill under center. You have what's his name? You have a good O-line. Maybe you dropped an O-lineman here because your other O-line that you drafted last year on right tackle sucked. Had a very bad performance, not on the field, but had no motivation. It looked like. Maybe you go with somebody there. It's the best available defensive player or an O-lineman here. For the Jets, I said with the 23rd overall pick, the Jets got this pick. I think it was the Jets got this pick from Seattle. This was in the Jamal Adams trade. Over here, this just get somebody that your QB can play with, or a lineman that he can play behind. Literally anyone on offense, if you ask me. Then next up, we have Pittsburgh. Theirs is, I think, is simple. O-line or someone that doesn't do TikTok dances. So basically, an O-lineman. Marquise Pouncey. Was it Marquise Pouncey? One of the Pouncey twins retired from the NFL. Both of them retired from the NFL last year. One of them was the center for the Steelers. So you lose him. You lose another offensive lineman in free agency this year. You lose two of your starting offensive linemen. I think you're going to have a hard time, protecting your QB who already had a bad elbow injury in the past and is getting up there in age. So over here, you go with an O-lineman. Without a doubt, you go with an O-lineman. You don't need anybody on defense at this spot. You need an O-lineman. The Jags, I said, refer to pick 23. So literally someone that can play with their new QB or a lineman, literally anyone. So you're picking somebody that can play with Trevor Lawrence or can protect Trevor Lawrence so you don't have a Joe Burrow catastrophe where he tears an ACL in his rookie season and doesn't win Rookie of the Year. Next, it's the Browns. Like I said, with the picks in the later picks of the first round, it's gonna be a lot of them are gonna be the same. The Browns, I said, the best available player. They have a pretty complete team. Wherever you need a player, whatever the best player that's available here, if it's a wide receiver, if it's a running back, even though, they don't really need running backs here. If it's a wide receiver, if it's a tight end, if it's a lineman, cornerback, linebacker, doesn't matter what it is. Whoever the best available player is here, you pick them. That's the Browns. Next is the Baltimore Ravens. Theirs is just wide receiver. Somebody that Lamar Jackson can throw to so he doesn't have to run all the time. Because if you're to win, you need to be able to throw the ball, not just have your QB run for his life. So if I'm the Ravens, I'm going for a wide receiver here. That's about it. The Saints, it's difficult to say for the Saints because it's weird. Do you go for a QB that can play behind Jameis Winston? Do you go for a QB that can play behind, that can be a third, that is basically going to be your third QB to play behind Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, even though Taysom Hill has signed like a 4-year extension? Do you go with the wide receiver, a DB, because you had to cut a lot of guys in free agency? Do you go with a defensive end because you lost Trey Hendrickson? It's hard to say over here. This is a weird team right now. I say this is the best, whoever the best available player is. Basically, that's it. Except for running back again for them. They got running backs. The best available player at this position, or at the best available player at that spot, is basically what you're going to go with if you're the Saints. Then you got the Packers, and no, not a receiver is going to be picked at this spot. Not because I don't think that they are, but because I don't think they need to pick a receiver at this spot. They need a DB that can not allow 40-yard runs from tiny white receivers. I'm sorry, Scotty Miller, if you ever somehow watch this, but Kevin King kind of screwed that up. So that's why I'm a little salty, and I said that. If I'm the Packers, you pick a DB. And not somebody that's going to be starting right away. That's for sure. You're not going to throw the rookie right in. That's why they signed Kevin King. If I'm the Packers, you pick a DB. That's it. That's about it. You don't need anything else except for DBs, wide receiver you can pick in the second round. The Bills, I said the best available player here, but I should have changed that. That should be your running back. They can really use a good running back. I don't think Devin Singletary is it. If Chuba Hubbard is available at this spot, I would go with him. I'm going to represent my Canadian boys. I like him. I'd like to see him on the Bills. That's that. Bills really need a running back. They're also a pretty complete team. So the further down we go in this draft list, because that's usually how it works. The more complete teams are going to be the better ones. The more complete teams we see, it's going to be the best available player. But for the Chiefs, I said a tackle. They just lost, or they cut both tackles, so they can really use one. They signed Kyle Long. He came out of retirement to go play for the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think they should draft a tackle here. If not, you trade up and draft one or trade down and draft one. And then we have the Bucs, best available player. It's the Bucs. They just won the Super Bowl. That's that. I really hope. You know what? Just give me a second. I just want to check to see if my thing is still recording. What are we at over here? Yeah, we still good. Okay, we still good. Oof. But yeah, so that's the first round of the NFL draft. I'm not going to go past the first round. Like, the first round took 40 minutes as is. That's about going to be that for the NFL draft. I think it's going to be an interesting draft. It's a pretty good draft, talent-wise. It's not like the NHL draft this year where I couldn't tell you who's going to go first overall. Oh, excuse me. But who do you guys think your team is going to pick? That's what I want to know. Let me know, and if you're watching this on YouTube, tweet at me. Put it on. Tell me on Instagram. Doesn't matter. Who do you think your team is going to pick? Who do you want your team to pick? I'll put a poll up on Instagram. I'll put a poll up on Instagram tomorrow during the draft. That's that. I'll do a video talking about the European Super League, but that's that. Not really much I want to talk about. The last thing I really want to talk about for today. If you own a Patty Marleau jersey, and if it's signed, yeah, that thing is going to be worth a little bit more. Patty Marleau broke the record for the most games played in NHL history. Last night he played his 2 nights ago, because when this drops, I forgot. Monday night, Patty Marleau played his 1,768th NHL game, breaking Gordie Howe's 1,767 game record. And the season ain't done yet. He's got a few more games to go. I think he's about like 10 more games to go. That is an incredible feat to say. Now, the question is gonna. Now, I've had some people ask me if that record is going to be broken, and of course it's going to be broken. Any record is going to be broken. Records are meant to be broken. So, do I think it's going to be broken? Of course it's going to be broken. Do I expect it to be anytime soon? I don't really expect that. I think that's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, because we didn't see that. We didn't see this record broken for what, 50 years now. That's how long it took. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. Probably, it most likely won't happen in our lifetime. If it does, that's amazing to say. That you saw 2 players break the most, or set the record for the most wins in NHL, the most games played in NHL history. But congrats to Patty Marleau, Maple Leaf legend. That's an amazing feat. That's incredible. Anyways, that's all for this week. I don't really know what else to say. You can follow me on Instagram at Bonavoda at Bonavoda. Follow me on Twitter at Bonavoda_. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Leading the Pack Pod. Check me out on YouTube. Check the podcast out on YouTube for the full video version. Follow me on TikTok if you want to at Bonavoda _ with a capital B. All the socials are underneath. But that's all for this week. Enjoy the draft. Weather's getting better. Enjoy the weather. And, I got vaccinated today. I should say that too. So, yeah, if that's a cool thing. You know, if you want to go for the vaccination, I'd say go for it. If not, I'm not going to force you. But I will say take the vaccination so that we can all be safe once again. And we can go back to spending $20 on a single beer at Maple Leaf games. I'll see y'all later. Ciao.